All right, we're doing a deep dive into the choir trial period, which is by far my favorite strategy for getting quick results. If you are ready to grow your choir this season, then I highly recommend that you implement this very effective strategy. And it's pretty simple to take advantage of. So essentially, what it is a short duration for folks to sign up and be a part of a choir. So there's a starting point and there's an ending point in mind. This is not I raise my hand, I'm part of the choir now and forever. Now, on the back end of this, yes, we're hoping, and it's highly likely that a percentage of the singers who join during the choir trial period will join your choir long term. And then it becomes more of a long-term strategy, because as you begin to stack your choir trial period, say you run 2 or 3 per year, you're going to retain a certain percentage of singers from each one of those opportunities, and that's a long-term growth strategy. But I love it for getting quick results. I love running this strategy around Lent and Advent. It's also a great strategy to throw together during the summer. And I say throw together, you're not throwing this thing together, you are implementing it in a very strategic way. And we're going to talk about how to go about doing that. So the first thing you want to do is articulate your vision to your choir members. Now, that's something you've heard me say time and time again, and I'm a huge advocate of letting our singers inside the vision and inside the dream during that vision casting stage. It's so important that they understand where we feel that God is leading our music ministry. So first we're praying, we're thinking through that. What does growth look like for my music ministry? What does growth look like for my choir? And then you're articulating that vision to your choir members. Now, in one of the first rehearsals of the season, say I'm going to run this during Lent or run the choir trial period during Advent, I'm setting that up to my choir members. I'm letting them know what the choir trial period is all about and what its purpose and function is. And that is to, in a season, over the course of 6 to 7 weeks, it could be a little shorter, 4 to 7 weeks, we'll say that's a good time frame for the choir trial period. We are bringing in new singers, and the hope is that, yes, some of these singers will stay on long term, but we're actively seeking new members to join for a set duration where there's a starting point, there's an ending point, there's 4 to 7 weeks for folks to join the choir. And these are people who have always wanted to join the choir, but for whatever reason they haven't. Perhaps it's that biggest objection, I just don't have time. Well, this is a great strategy for overcoming the single biggest objection, and that is I don't have time. Well, because there's an end in sight. So you're not signing up for choir for the rest of your life. We hope to retain those singers, but they're signing up during Lent. They're signing up during Advent. And that's the beautiful thing about this strategy, is it's low barrier to entry, really gets people excited, and there's a great possibility that you're going to invite several brand new singers into any given season that you run the choir trial period. So the first thing you've got to do, though, is articulate your vision to your choir members, because they're going to be your ambassadors. They're going to be the ones that help spread this message like wildfire when you finally go live with your solicitations. So as you've gotten your early adopters on board, your current choir members and your ministry leaders, what you want to go ahead and do is start building momentum. So you're having these conversations in rehearsal, and then you're also doing this one-on-one with your choir members to articulate that vision so that, you're keeping it in front of them. Every week, you're just reminding them about the choir trial period. You're putting this in email. You're putting this in your Facebook group. You're going live in your Facebook group and saying, hey, the choir trial period's coming up. We're going to start it in just 3 or 4 weeks. And I want you guys to really help me spread that message, because if you get your early adopters on board, they're going to be the ones that help spread your message when those solicitations go live. And that helps build momentum. Now, we are blessed at the church I'm at to have a communications director. At your church or parish, you may be the communications director. It may be your pastor, or perhaps you do have someone who's in that position. This could be an office administrator. This could look a lot of different ways for a lot of different churches. And one of the things that I like to do early on in the process, and this is if I'm marketing for anything, an event, a concert, a worship service, especially the choir trial period, is I want to let my communications director in on the vision so that they understand when they go to create graphics and logos and solicitations, the vision and the messaging that should be a part of something like the choir trial period. So I'm a huge advocate of being clear rather than clever. If you can be clear and clever in your marketing, and they're both working hand in hand, that's a beautiful thing, but it's not always the case. But here's what you don't want to do. You do not want to be unclear and very clever, because that messaging is going to fall flat. So I'm going to show you a solicitation that we put together with the communications director at my church, and it's straightforward, the choir trial period. Now, some of you may say, well, Chris, I don't want to call mine the choir trial period, and that's totally fine. I am super obvious in these things. I want, most people know that a trial period is you're trying something out, and I'm very clear in the communications. When we go to verbalize the choir trial period in worship and put that in newsletter and print in the bulletin, I'm going to call it what it is. I'm going to explain what it is. The choir trial period is an opportunity for you to try out choir during a period of time. In this case, I ran the choir trial period through Lent, and the goal was that you're going to sing Good Friday and Easter. And I know several other music directors who have run the choir trial period during Lent through Easter, and it works beautifully in that season, also works beautifully during Advent, but you can run it any time of the year. And if you notice there on the graphic, I've got the biggest objection. That is, I don't have time X'd out, because I want them to know that they do have time. They can commit for 4 to 7 weeks or whatever the time frame is and be a part of the choir. This is an opportunity. So as you begin to clarify that message to your congregation or parish, you want to restate that this is a set period of time, low barrier to entry. Commit to 4 or 5 rehearsals, whatever it looks like for you and your church, whatever that season looks like for you. Articulate that to your membership. And as you begin to articulate that, just remind them that this is overcoming that biggest objection that you don't have time to sing in choir. And I realize that that's a concern among several of you who have always wanted to sing in our awesome choir. Well, guess what? We are making this accessible for you. We want you to know you can sign up through Lent and just be a part of our Holy Week services and sing with the choir. And how awesome will that be? So you can see I'm very clear there in the solicitations, and I was really, really excited to work with our communications director. And I highly encourage you to get your communications person in on the loop so that y'all can talk through that together and get the clarity and the consistency in your messaging. Now, here's the thing. In terms of articulating the messaging of the choir trial period to your congregation or parish, you've got to make sure to be consistent. Here's where I see the choir trial period and other strategies falling flat very often, is folks think that, okay, well, I put it in the bulletin once, or I verbalize it out from the pulpit a couple of times, and then I put it on social media once or twice, and I'm done, and everybody's going to come. No, my friends, it takes consistency in your marketing efforts. And if you want to succeed with a choir trial period, you've got to make sure to be consistent. That's every single day. Maybe you're mapping out Mondays and Tuesdays. Those are my social media and email days. So I'm going to send emails to prospective choir members who have either shown interest, or I've heard through other choir members that they're interested in signing up for the choir trial period, or I'm just going to double up on Facebook and Twitter, wherever your church or parish is. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube as well. But I'm going to be posting there pretty frequently, not just once, not just twice, but a couple of times every day, just to remind people about what's going on. Because the reality is that if you don't post frequently, not everyone is going to see your promotions, and you want to make sure that you're getting that messaging in front of your prospective choir members. So be consistent, and maybe you designate a Wednesday or a Thursday to make some phone calls and send some more emails. And then as you're leading up to the actual start date of the choir trial period, for Lent, I chose to run mine the first Wednesday that Lent kicked off. So that would have been Ash Wednesday. And we're kicking off with just kind of a meet and greet after the Ash Wednesday service. And then they know for the next 5 or 6 weeks, they're committed to rehearsals, and they'll do their best to show up to every one of those. If they have to miss one, I totally understand. Just things come up, but the goal is to sing Good Friday and Easter, and they want to be prepared with the music, and they know that the end date is Easter. If you're doing this during Advent, maybe that's the Sunday prior to, or the Wednesday or rehearsal prior to the first Sunday in Advent. And then you're leading up to the Christmas Eve service or the Christmas concert. That could look a lot of different ways for you. But the important thing is just to be clear in your messaging. When you verbalize this to your congregation, what you want to do is make sure you're consistent there, and not just 1 week prior, not 2 weeks prior, but at least 3 weeks prior. Have some verbal announcements going out from the pulpit, whether that's you, your pastor, or a lay leader who's announcing this. I think it's awesome the week prior to launching, just have a choir member come and tell their story, because it's one thing coming from the director, it's one thing coming from the staff members. If we can get our choir members telling their stories and the meaningful experience that it is for them to be a part of the choir and how others can share in that, then that's going to go a long way and really turn the heat up on your marketing efforts and get folks excited to be a part of the choir trial period. So once you've done your due diligence and articulating your vision to your ministry leaders and your choir members, once you've worked with the marketing director or the communications director at your church, or perhaps that's you or your pastor, and you've gotten those solicitations down, the messaging down, the message is clear, it's concise, you've got your visuals, your graphics, your logos, whatever you're going to use, then you start to message that and brand that and be consistent in your marketing efforts on social media, announcements out of the pulpit, and make sure that you're just always putting that in front of your prospective choir members. I promise you, if you do it with persistence and dedication, you are going to see fantastic results when it comes to implementing your choir trial period.